enticing a nice middle-aged lady, a single
Hey,
mom,
on and on.
kind of like the women that Base George talks to. She's like an example of like one of the women that Base George talks to on Instagram. Those are the types of chicks that turned him away from the black pill. I mean, he's still based, of course. We're going to check in on old Base George probably to close the show out. But let's see. Let's see what happens over on Dr. Phil. Oh, my goodness. And somebody actually uploaded the whole episode, so we don't have to like search for clips.
New Dr. Phil. Who here has heard of Andrew Tate, the demise of guys?
This new think
The demise of guys.
idea that men and women are the same is complete garbage that's been invented, right?
Are you an Andrew Tate adherent? He describes it as sexual encounter, slap, grab, choke. It's how it should be.
Well, if it's consensual, it's all good.
Again, to the point where I've got to come on the Dr. Phil show and be an apologist for Andrew Tate, which I am not going to do.
That guy is so full of shit. Like, if you go to his channel, like, they're all about right now, his grift right now, a lot of it has to do with Andrew Tate. And he's definitely a defender of Andrew Tate, 100%. Because, like, you could say, like, well, is what Andrew Tate doing, is it illegal? Like the cam girl stuff, the lover boy method, trying to kind of trick girls into becoming cam girls. Is it illegal? Probably not. But that doesn't mean, like, you have to be like, well, it's cool. It's cool then. Well, it's cool to do that. Oh, Trembling says, just something unsettling for a guy that looks like that to offer you. Shrimp cocktails, everybody. You want some beginnings, changes, never change. Brissinger says, Long Island iced tea. Profits in the house. He says, Bugatti. I got to get me a Bugatti.
Let's do it.
Have a good show, everybody. Here we go.
This is a safe place to talk about hard things.
Stand by. We'll count you down.
Today is going to be a changing day in your life.
5, 4.
Get ready.
I don't think I've ever seen an entire episode of Dr. Phil. The only thing I've ever seen are basically the clips we've watched on NIGHTCAP. This is quite the production. This is somebody, this is the kind of program that a woman that Mark Gormley is looking for probably watches.
Take care of you. Good morning. Good morning. Well,
Good morning, Dr. Phil. It's 3 p.m. What are you, drunk? Oh my God. Brissinger says, still fucked up. Prophet says, a safe place to talk about hard things. You mean my dick, Phil? You mean my dick?
recently, people across America were Googling, who is Andrew Tate? Now, who here has heard of...
Trumzilla says, Dr. Phil just got canceled. Well, I think he's self-canceled, and I think he's moving his show to primetime. Believe it or not, Dr. Phil has only gotten more popular. He's only gotten more popular, and thanks to people like Joe Rogan and stuff, because when he gets in an interview and he gets to speak like a normal person, he's actually pretty down to earth, it seems like. Maybe even a little practical, maybe a little based. You know, it's so weird in the world we live in. Like, if anybody has just some sort of, I don't know, moral compass, they're like, well, you're red-pilled and based, dude, because you have a moral compass.
Andrew Tate? Really? I never heard of him. Now, one mother, Darcy, tweeted, I didn't know who Andrew Tate was, but my 12-year-old son did.
And this was a talking point for a while with the Andrew Tate thing, because I'm not, like, I don't really follow this sphere, this bubble, the manosphere very closely. But I remember just like Andrew Tate, suddenly he was a thing. I'd never heard of him before. And then suddenly he was a thing, and everybody was talking about that their 12-year-old sons were watching Andrew Tate on TikTok. And that's why he had to be eradicated. He had to be taken off of all of the platforms. Honestly, on the real, I feel like Andrew Tate is a psyop. I feel like he's a plant or something. And I think, or something. I don't think he's going to jail for the cam girl stuff. I think that's a cover for him being involved in the Romanian mafia, Romanian underground, using him to launder money, etc. I mean, the guy is ridiculously wealthy, or at least seems to be ridiculously wealthy. He could be a patsy. He could be a patsy. Bursinger says, Dr. Phil horror flick, pig costume. Actually, there is like a fakes. There's a group. There's a comedic group from West Virginia called Teenagers from Uranus. Look up Teenagers from Uranus, Dr. Phil. They did like a fake horror trailer. Maybe after this we'll check it out. Trembling says, I love that the house he tried to sell was such a Scarface tier trashy mansion. Oh, dude, that shit was crazy. Yeah, because people are like, is Dr. Phil part of the occult?
So parents, they're coming for your boys. They market misogyny and racism. And when I say they, there's a broad range of people out there, and they're not all the same. So I don't want to lump everybody together. Tate claims to be helping young men acquire lots of money, drive luxury cars, and pick up hot women.
And he is also using women from Romania to catfish guys from all over the world into giving them hundreds of thousands of dollars while never actually delivering on anything they'll say they'll do. That's part of his method. He brags about it. We watched that last week.
Last August, he was banned on social media for his misogynistic viewpoints, some of which I can't repeat on daytime television. And then just last month, Tate and his brother were detained by Romanian authorities in connection with a human trafficking, rape, and organized crime investigation.
If you give a man true free reign, completely be who you want to be, and you don't let society program you, he's going to drive a fast car. He's going to have a bunch of women. He's going to want to have a bunch of money. He's going to do whatever he wants, right? Or whether a woman wants to.
Yeah, men are going to do whatever I want to do. Cato says, reminded just a bit of Ty Lopez. Remember him? Ty Lopez. Sounds familiar, but I can't place it. Trumpzilla says, Dr. Phil is friends with Ron White, who tells the Eleanor Roosevelt joke. I'm sure I've heard it, but I can't place it.
To be a lawyer or a housemaker or a webcam girl. Unless she has a man directing her, she's up. They're just not built to be completely independent creatures. Men and women are not the same. We've never been the same. This new think idea that men and women are the same is complete garbage that's been invented, right? If a woman sleeps with multiple people, that's cheating. That's absolutely unacceptable on every level. If I have a woman who I truly love and I go out and I come back to her and I don't care about her and I only love my girl, that's not cheating. That's exercise. If she even talks to a dude, it's cheating. Because females are emotionally invested. I have no emotional investment.
Yeah, so as long as you're a sociopath, I mean, it's not really cheating. It's not really stepping out. It's not the same. Who are you kidding? It's not the same, of course.
Oh, okay. Some of the women here, I think, might disagree with that a little bit. Moms out there, if you have a son, I bet you have no idea what is happening out there. So you might want to pull up a chair and listen. Our first guest, 24-year-old Ben, says when he was a teen, he had zero self-esteem, never got past the first date, and felt powerless with girls. But he says men like Andrew Tate inspired him to break out of his shell.
A woman's primary.
Look at this wide-eyed motherfucker. Holy shit. This guy looks like a serial killer. He's like, yeah, you know, he taught me after I gave him about like $5,000 or $6,000 to join Hustlers University. Yeah, this is what he taught me. He taught me how to be a fucking maniac, a psychopath, if you will. Trumpzilla says he told it on Phil's yacht, drunk as hell.
Primary biological role is to make kids. So the more fertile she is, the prettier she is, the more feminine sexual energy she has. But for men, our primary biological...
I got to get a picture like this of me. Oh my goodness. I got to get out there in the woods. Pop that shirt off. Ooh.
purpose is to build things. A high status, high value man is a man who builds valuable things. That's where his masculine sexual energy comes from. So a man's going to judge a woman first and foremost by how fertile she is.
They've repackaged the concept of just being a responsible adult that has like ambition into being like this thing, this mystery that nobody knows about anymore. Bristinger says, laughing girl drop. I think you're right. I mean, they're harsh, but they're not liars. Trembling says, Dr. Phil is going to really school Tate on how to make money from dumb women. Well, that's true. Dr. Phil's like the other side of that coin because they're both going after kind of people that are vulnerable.
Is. That's why men care about a woman being soft. Men care about a woman being pure and healthy and nurturing, good at cooking, cleaning, and all that jazz, while women care about a man's status and a man's value, because that shows how good he is at building things, how good he is at taking care of his body and being strong enough to protect her and her children. It's not unfair that men care more about looks than women do. It's just how nature designed it.
Wow. So you understand women?
Yeah.
How do you understand
I mean, he just told us, so yeah, I think so.
women so well?
Oh, just life experience. I've put myself out there a lot and had my fair share of learning. I've read a lot and experienced a lot of different perspectives and did my best to put them all together.
You're a sexual energy coach.
Yes.
Help me with that. What is a sexual energy coach?
A sexual energy coach. Again, I'm in the wrong business.
So I help men with their mindsets, getting in touch with their masculinity, figuring out their goals and what sorts of action steps they can take to make those goals real when it comes to dating and relationships.
But you don't have a girlfriend?
Not at the moment, no.
Okay. So you're telling other people how to get girlfriends and you don't have one?
Well, I teach them how to get in touch with their masculinity.
Okay.
Yeah, it's like acting coaches that teach you how to act that have never actually booked a gig. Trembling Color says, Tate looks like Dave Smith turning himself into Louis J. Gomez, reference only Legion of Skanks fans would get. I get it. I got that one. Trumzilla says his head is shaped like a pinhead. He looks like a Michael Berryman. He's like a more attractive Michael Berryman. Hagbard says this guy looks and sounds like a pickle licker. Brissinger says Chrome Dome. Trembling says I'm going to take advice from a guy with a xenomorph head. That's going to be a no. It's going to be a no from the girls.
And so my clients have found girlfriends because of me.
Okay. And how do you define masculinity?
Integrity under pressure.
And you were saying that women want a man that what?
They want a man who knows what he values, a man who's good at building something.
You know, it kind of sucks, though, that we do live in a time and in a culture where this, I don't know if you would say it's necessary. They're kind of missing the point a lot of times, because a lot of the shit should be like encouraging people to have families and teach their sons how to be confident, have integrity, etc. But we live in such a time that, like, you know, people feel lost. They feel lost. They don't know what the fuck to do. I think about this often about like my generation and how kind of ill prepared a lot of guys are for that kind of reality, or even just having like a personality or having something to offer, etc. And it's kind of a sad state of affairs. It kind of bums me out. Trembling says this guy has the stereotypical autistic voice.
He's nothing but a ghoul and a goblin who works at the basement.
Works at the basement.
Something, a man who's, you know, multidimensional and integrated, who can be masculine, but is also emotionally aware, intelligent, and fearless when it comes to achieving his goals.
Are you an Andrew Tate adherent?
I'm not a dogmatist by any means, but I do think that he's serving a valuable role. I think that he's making a positive difference, and he does say a lot of controversial things because he's an extreme person. Like, he's not your normal average guy.
I wrote down some of the things that he said. Some of them I absolutely cannot repeat. But he says, I think my sister is her husband's property. Would you agree with that line of thinking?
Not in the literal sense, no.
Well, I understand. He doesn't have.
Yeah, well, I mean,
he doesn't own her.
Women are obviously people, not objects, but it's one way of looking at things, you know, misogynistic as that might be.
He describes a sexual encounter and says that's how it goes. Slap, slap, grab, choke, shut up, bitch, sex. That's how it should be.
But Phil, you're taking all of these out of context. The thing about Andrew Tate, which I think we kind of learned last week, is that even if you put it into context, it actually doesn't sound that much better. Brissinger says, AVP all the way. Get to the chopper. Trumpzilla says, oh, big words for daytime. Brissinger says, not a dog. Cato says, the absurd proportions of those chairs. Well, they do that kind of shit on purpose. That's to keep you off tilt. It's to make you feel uncomfortable. They do that often when you have like adversarial interviews. One of the ones that I remember that comes to mind is when Alex Jones was on Piers Morgan, and they put Alex Jones. They like have them sitting on these weird fucking stools that just made Alex Jones like look weird and have to like lurch forward and be aggressive just because of his body type. But it's a pretty common tactic when you're trying to make somebody look small, diminish them, make them feel uncomfortable. Put them in a weird chair. It may seem stupid. It may seem like a stupid thing, like if you were just in passing to think about it. But if you really start thinking about the idea of having to speak to somebody while in an uncomfortable position, you're already uncomfortable. I mean, this guy's already clearly uncomfortable, even being here talking about this shit publicly. I mean, he's doing it because he has a business. He has a business. He sells a service. He's a sexual energy coach. So he's doing it for, those kinds of motives, to get his name out there, raise his profile a little bit. Like, all publicity is good publicity to a certain extent.
Well, if it's consensual, then it's all good.
Okay. He says, I'm not a blanking rapist, but I like the idea of being able to do what I want. And I don't believe women are as smart as men.
Well, I was really...
Holy shit. I got to go back and see this woman's face.
Okay. He says, I'm not a blanking rapist, but I like the idea of being able to do what I want. And I don't believe women are as smart as men.
Well.
Now, I don't know if this is Dr. Phil. This might be his wife. Actually, this might be Dr. Phil's wife. I don't know. She's some sort of, she has to be known to the production because they keep cutting to her for reaction shots. Come on, baby. Give us the good stuff, please. Give us the big reactions. Aim for the cheap sheets, baby. Aim for the cheap sheets. Cato says, yes, he agrees with my analysis. Trumpzilla says, like a boss at FedEx in his 6x6 office. Yeah. Brissinger says, low tactic, Jesus, cheap as fuck. Trelling says, Dr. Phil, now what happened to just letting a woman slob on your knob, then ride you like a bronco? You kids these days with the slapping. Brissinger says, got to plant that caboose in comfort. Trumpzilla says she's had her mouth open like that before. Phil's got a big hog. That guy's packing.
Oh, sounds really misogynistic.
Do you agree with that? You said the more muscle I put on, the more affordable, attractive, healthy girls will be available to you. How does that work?
The feminine women are attracted to masculine men.
Really?
Yeah.
And later, I have a question about what y'all are going back and forth about. So what? What the hell difference does it make? What's that have to do with equality?
So the guy in the headband, or the fucking whatever you call it, that's Rollo Tomassi.
He says, I'm not a blanking rapist, but I like the idea of being able to do what I want. And I don't believe women are as smart as men.
Well, sounds really misogynistic.
Do you agree with that?
Not entirely, no. We might not have the same biological roles, but I think women are really smart overall.
Yeah.
Smart enough not to fuck you. I'm just saying.
Do you think there is a pecking order in a relationship?
I wouldn't say a pecking order. I would say that men bring certain strengths, women bring other strengths.
Mm-hmm. You say boys will be boys. Is that a good thing or a bad thing, and what's it mean?
I think it's a good thing. I mean, for boys to be boys, explore the masculinity, find ways to meaningfully challenge themselves and grow.
Yeah.
So this guy, he agrees. This guy secretly agrees. This dude back here, he's like, nah, wah. I mean, the guy's just saying kind of basic, practical things. Like it's not. He hasn't said anything wild.
You said when you were younger, you were an aimless loser.
I was kind of a coward. And
Yeah.
when I was in high school, I decided that I'm going to get to decide who I get to be in life. So I decided I'm going to be a strong, masculine guy. And so I got into lifting weights. I got into self-development. And eventually I put myself out there in the dating world a lot. And I learned a lot and grew a lot. And I would say I'm a pretty strong, confident guy now.
You said the more muscle I put on, the more affordable, attractive, healthy girls will be available to you. How does that work?
I don't know, Phil. How does that work? How does that work if you're like an attractive dude? How the fuck does that work, Phil? I don't know. Fucking wild stuff. Oh, you're in good shape? Do you think that like kind of cuts down some barriers for you? You have to, you don't have to try as hard. It's pretty basic stuff, Phil. I mean, I know you're doing a show, but you could help the dude out. He's looking a little squirrely. Trumzilla says, except when boys think they're girls. That's right. You gotta do everything you can to fight against sissy hypnosis. Sissy hypnosis is real. It is a scourge on the incel community. They're all transitioning to girls just so they can get laid. They can get those freaks. They can get those fetishes. Trembling Color says, Phil's going to send this guy to the ranch to meet Mistress Bertha May McClintock.
Well, because the more muscle you have on your body, the more testosterone your body produces to maintain it. And working out, it raises your testosterone and it masculinizes you. And feminine women are attracted to masculine men.
Really?
Yeah.
You talked about the greatest harm.
Feminine women are attracted to masculine men. That's probably fact check true. There's probably some truth to that. Trembling says the worst thing that society has done for the dating world is make both guys and girls think they deserve tens. It's society, it's social media that kind of like elevates your expectations in a way that are completely unrealistic, completely stupid. There is something to like kind of staying in your lane, for lack of a better way to put it. That's why I think so many of these dudes fail. That's why they feel so unhappy, because they can't bag a model or somebody that looks like a model. Brissinger says Phil skull fucks this guy on an impulse. Come here, buddy.
To men right now, you said there's a lack of positive masculine role models, and that Andrew Tate is stepping in to fill that role.
Exactly.
Okay, and you think in a positive way. And the greatest harm for women, you said, teaching women to not value the right things, to go for men that are soft and not masculine.
It's part of the picture. So I'm far from the only guy who's ever felt like no one ever taught him how to be a man growing up. And so I've had my mentors, I've had my learning experiences, and there's no like one guy who I look up to. It's a bunch of men I've known who've taught me what I could.
So how does he get on the show if he's not like an Andrew Tate super fan? I guess they wanted a broader perspective because they do pre-interviews. They know everything about this dude, most of what he's going to say before they ever put him in front of a studio audience. So like, I don't know. I guess I just kind of don't understand. Like maybe like I think that as a business thing is a little weird, maybe a little silly. I don't know. But honestly, I'd rather people listen to this guy than Andrew Tate. Honestly, Trumpzilla says, how about Tom Brady and his newer, younger, hotter girlfriend? That's because it looks like Tom kind of fucked his life up by being a little selfish. I don't know all the details of that, but he's leaving his kids without a father while he's fucking jet setting around with some model. Oh, which is not hard for somebody of Tom Brady's status to get. Tom Brady could be out of shape and a little bit of a piece of shit, and he's still going to be able to bang that same girl. Trembling Color says this ends with the dude crying and asking Phil to be his dad. Oh, there we go.
Be what it could become. And Andrew Tate is not nearly one of the most important ones, but I do see the value he's adding. Like, there are a lot of young men, boys out there who maybe their father's not in their life. They've had a weak father. They haven't had many positive male role models growing up. And to them, they're seeing Andrew Tate as an aspirational figure. Like,
Yeah, this is what we've talked about this all the time. You know, it's been a while since we've discussed this, but that's why somebody like Jordan Peterson is so popular. It's because he became people's internet dad. I mean, we live in a world now where it's like, I think it's like 50% of people grow up in single parent households in the United States, or it's closing in on 50%. It's a pretty shocking number, honestly. And clearly society is not better for it. Trumpzilla says Tiger Woods is also a piece of shit. He's just a piece of, like, I don't like these I don't know. I don't really have much of an opinion on the comings and goings of celebrities and athletes and stuff like that, but like, it's not somebody that I would look up to. Brissinger says, good old Tommy. Trumpzilla says politicians get hot Chinese chicks, especially when they're spies.
They don't have to, aspire to be 100% like him. They don't have to have the same goals, take the same action he's taking. But he's one guy of many who's showing them that they could be more than just some coward, more than just some weak guy who doesn't know how to stand up for himself, doesn't know how to stand.
Yeah, and all those things would be fine. But then you have to deal with the rest of the baggage of Andrew Tate and the rest of the things that he says. Like, he is not a good aspirational figure. There are other people out there that say the same fucking thing as Andrew Tate says that you would be better served paying attention to, listening to, if you find yourself in this place. Like, Andrew Tate is a fucking opportunist. He's a charlatan. He's a con man.
Stand up for what he believes in.
Yeah, you said that women are not guided by love. They're being guided by an evil agenda.
Well, there's been a lot of programming out there that's taught men and women to hate each other instead of love each other.
Yeah.
In the past decade especially. And so there's a lot of messages in the media, in society, that's making men afraid of women and making women afraid of men instead of loving each other, instead of, leaning into our natural roles and our personalities.
And what's the evil part?
Evil part? Well, anything that promotes hatred, anything that promotes division on whatever part of the political, ideological spectrum it is.
Yeah, but Andrew Tate would be a part of that. Like, however you feel about Andrew Tate, I think he clearly is a little bit of a misogynist, like, in the truest sense of the word. Like, it's not a fantasy. At least that's what he says. Whether or not he actually believes that, I have no fucking idea. But that's what he proliferates. That's what he says. That's what he proselytizes. Trumpzilla says the Kardashians have their plastic surgeon and black athletes on speed dial. Trembling says Andrew Tate is the modern Fagin from Oliver Twist. I think that's a great way to put it. I think that's a good way to put it. Yeah.
So anything that's teaching you to hate someone else or look down on someone else for any reason.
Yeah. So do you have women friends?
Oh, yeah. I have some female friends who I value.
My mom,
Yeah.
my sister.
Do you hope to get married someday?
Oh, yeah, eventually. Yeah. It's not a very pressing goal of mine right now. I have a lot of other things I'm focusing on, but down the line, yes.
Okay. All right. Well, when we come,
That's another thing with these dudes, that they actually give people bad advice about this notion that, like, you need to kick that can down the road as far as you can before you start a family. Because you have to, like, kind of look at the idea of, like, starting a family and getting married and finding the right person. Obviously, I know that doesn't happen for a lot of people. End up with some real fucking monsters. There's some real monsters out there, no matter your gender. But you grow together and you build a life together, and your life becomes more fulfilling as a result of that, like, kind of growth, doing it together. It becomes way more meaningful. Like, going through hard times together. Listen, I can tell you from experience, it's very bonding. It's very bonding, and you really feel indebted to each other in ways, and it enriches your love life and enriches your feelings for each other in ways that you can't, like, artificially create by being successful beforehand.
back, should we be worried about So
Honestly, like all the advice these guys give is to like become a high status, successful man before you even like think about trying to find a woman. Well, then you're going to find tons of problems because then you're always going to have to wonder why they're with you. Are they with me for my money, for my status? Is it hypergamy? I mean, I guess under those circumstances, yeah, probably you're going to have to worry about that a lot more than if you're just somebody that like, ends up meeting someone and starts a life together. I don't know.
something called the manosphere and our sons. Well, I'm going to ask the godfather of the manosphere because he's here and he's going to tell us what that's all about. And you can decide if you think it's something you should be worried about. And I want to hear from the audience. We'll be right back.
What do I tell that chick who
Lady Love Footwear. Brissinger says, Broad Tate is a Sith Lord. Brissinger also says, I'm just the son of monsters. And that's the reality for a lot of people. That's I wasn't even being facetious about that. It's the truth. There's a lot of just shitty people, and it's a generational thing. It's their legacy. I was actually talking to my wife about this because we were talking about like the idea of like having to curate friendships the older you get and you're building a family, and you have to think about the people that you invite into your home, the types of things that they believe, that they say, the values they have. And there's just a fucking an absence of like a moral compass for a lot of people. It's all this like do what thou wilt type of attitude. Well, it's not me, it doesn't affect me. That's their life. But it does affect you. You will be around it. You will engage with it. They will suck you into their orbit. Sad state of affairs. Trembling Color says, yeah, the idea that a woman can't have a job or a career and be a mother is why this country was in the top 5 of abortion numbers, not even counting all the women who get old, childless, and fall into despair. Yeah, no, people who have been sold a lie about what it means to be successful, what a meaningful life is, like what purpose is. I think a lot of people find themselves in that place, especially women. Like that's the thing about all of this. A lot of this has been like done to people through cultural osmosis. And we're seeing it. We're seeing the fucking results of it. We see it every day. What's going on with like kids these days? Holy shit. Like if you thought like public school and shit like that was bad 10 years ago, like the type of shit that kids have to put up with, that they have to go through, it's like sending your kid to a fucking prison. It's prison rules. Like prison culture has been mainstreamed in a weird way. It's this kind of fucking mercenary, selfish, snitches get stitches, all this kind of shit. That reminds me, like when you go watch like documentaries about prison, it's the same kind of mentality. And it was sold to people through pop culture. Through popular black culture, through like hip hop, etc. It kind of venerated and put it on a pedestal that this is something to aspire to being like a degenerate piece of shit. And we all wonder, like, oh, I wonder why are we in the state that we are? Oh shit, I don't know. Fucking wild stuff. Trumpzilla says generational and Italian. My aunt and uncle married for 61 years. Uncle Ron passed away yesterday. Rest in peace to a great warrior. Rest in peace to your uncle, man. Rest in peace for sure. Trembling says, well, the old Frankfurt school knew that to break a society, you first destroy the women. Yeah, because they're kind of the foundation of your home. That's reality. Even whether they're working or not, they're still the foundation of your home. That's just like part of the way their brain works, for lack of a better way to put it.
who's 26 years old, who's probably making more money than most of the guys I know. She's an alpha male, right? What do I tell her? Dumb yourself down?
A lot of the
Good old Rollo Tomassi here, this fucking hair metal band reject that was in marketing. He's a Vegas marketing guy. That's his background. He used to market for big casinos in Vegas. And then he wrote a book called The Rational Male. And he was anonymous for a long time. That's why he goes by Rollo Tomassi. That's not his real name. Rollo Tomassi is actually a reference. I'm not sure if the etymology goes farther back than this. I'm sure it does, but it's a reference from a film, L.A. Confidential. Rollo Tomassi was the unknown murderer that shot Kevin Spacey's father while he was on the beat. If you're familiar with the movie, it's about cops and shit like that. And they're detectives. And Kevin Spacey's father was killed by somebody that never got caught. And he picked the name for that person, Rollo Tomassi. It's one of the linchpins of the film. It's how we find out that James Cromwell is actually a bad guy.
Work that I've done really for about 20 years right now gets distorted quite a bit to the point where I've got to come on the Dr. Phil show and be an apologist for Andrew Tate, which I am not going to do.
So why do they call you the godfather of the manosphere?
When you're 30, you can still land a pretty 22-year-old girlfriend, but a woman at 30, she might be beautiful, she might be sexy, but she is past her prime. And
Troubling Coach says Guy Pearce is dead. Oh, thank you for the correction. That's right. It's Guy Pearce's dad. And then Kevin Spacey uses the name to, with James Cromwell. You are correct. Thank you for the correction. It's been a while since I've seen that movie. You know, actually, that was one of my favorite movies growing up. I don't know why. That's why I also love the video game LA Confidential. Because it was like playing LA. It was like playing, not LA Confidential, LA Noir. Sorry. LA Noir. It was like playing the video game version of LA Confidential, and I fucking love it.
both sexes viscerally know this. A regular gal at 25, her sexual value, her sexual abundance is starting to go. Have some empathy.
This is the problem with these dudes too. They get on like Dr. Phil and then they soften everything and they kind of lie. They're a little like deceptive, try to be a little subversive about the things that they actually say. Like Rollo Tomassi he's kind of a fucking piece of shit. He's one of these guys that encourages young dudes to kind of like give up. Because like their entire focus is on like basically like club women. I don't know if you guys are familiar with the show Fresh and Fit. Fresh and Fit. He's the mentors of Fit, or the mentor to Fit. The one that's in better shape of that show. Trumpzilla says, right, it's a good movie. Leonardo DiCaprio in LA Confidential? No, he's not in LA Confidential.
For women, they go through worse problems than you do in the dating world.
Oh, are you talking about the ages of women? Yeah, Leonardo DiCaprio definitely is like, whoa, what are you like, 29? See ya! Get off of my yacht. Get off of my yacht. We're going to be eating our vegan feast in the company of younger women.
I think 25 is, they're kind of going over the hump.
Well, it's one way to look at things, because nature's designed us to build things. It's designed women to carry healthy children. And so young women are more fertile. Like that's not the entire picture of a woman.
See, these are also guys that they buy into kind of propaganda. Like, you know, when we had our most recent son, Ronan, my wife was considered a geriatric pregnancy. She was 35. There is this kind of myth out there that like after 30, like you really should really seriously consider whether or not you want to have children. I kind of know that's not true because I am Irish Catholic and I have lots and lots of cousins. My aunts had lots of kids well into their 40s. I grew up in a kind of a Catholic community up in New Hampshire. That's everybody, all those people had kids into their 40s, and they were doing it more like naturalistically too. They're not people that were like going to the doctor for checkups all the time. Unfortunately, they should take advantage of that stuff. But yeah, it's not some sort of impossible mountain to climb like people try to make it seem like it is. Like, yeah, do you have to take precautions? Of course, your body gets older, but it's it's not that weird.
Woman's value, but biologically, younger women are just what men go for.
Okay. Well, Rollo Tomassi is
because men covet, dude. Men covet. Hagbert says, geriatric pregnancy is a great term. Lots of extra doctor visits, read extra money. Bingo, bango, my friend. Bingo, bango. Trumpzilla says, this woman is thinking, kick him in the nuts. Honestly, this dude, as presented on the show, not that bad. Then we see some of the clips of him, probably his TikToks or whatever, maybe his YouTube shorts, and they're a little bit more aggressive. They're a little more aggressive. They're a little more didactic.
The blogger, author, and YouTuber whose 2013 book, The Rational Male, has come to be considered the unofficial Bible of the manosphere. Now, he says everything that you hear.
Yeah, that's what he claims. He claims that Rollo Tomassi is a clout-chasing shitbag. He's a whore. He's a whore. He's a con man. He wants to sell books.
From Andrew Tate is usually a derivative of his book and his teachings.
We have women who are building themselves up according to this strong, independent, female empowerment narrative. And as a result, all they've done is become the man that they wanted to marry. And guys don't want to have anything to do with that. So what do I tell them? What do I tell that chick who's 26 years old, who's probably making more money than most of the guys I know? She's an alpha male, right? What do I tell her? Dumb yourself down? The first thing out of my mouth is, well, you need to be more feminine. Right? Get in touch with your feminine side. You've got to invest in your beauty, invest in your femininity, rather than, being worried about like starting some gourmet cupcake retail outlet. Because if I don't, then I'm not feminine, and then they're not going to want to get with me. Oh, well, you mean I'm going to be 38 and lonely? I guess I'll die alone. Yeah, unless you do something. And if that sounds like dumbing yourself down, then I don't really know what else to tell you.
Yeah, women should stop being successful, so they can bag just average dudes, I guess. I mean, like if you're in that strata, if you're in that sphere, there's probably other dudes that you're gonna hook up with. Although, if you're like a really rich dude, I guess this is probably, think of somebody like a Jeff Bezos. After he got his divorce from his battle axe wife, he definitely was hanging out with just some dumb models and shit. So, maybe in fairness to old Rollo there might be something to that. They don't want the work. They don't want the challenge after a certain point, I suppose.
Oh, welcome.
Thanks for having me.
So your book and the things that you espouse predated Andrew Tate.
By about 10 years. All I do is present facts. And what happens is
this is his big thing. He presents facts. He doesn't present prescriptions. He just tells you that it's over, bro. But he didn't tell you to do anything in particular. He just says it's over. There's nothing for you. You're fucked.
is particularly now, and I've been doing this for about 20 years. You will see a lot of come-ups right now who want to take it and run with it on TikTok. They want to take it and run with it on Instagram. We live in the social media age. And
and he gets very upset that people do not credit him. Like if he's so influential, if he's the godfather, then these people are picking up these ideas from other people that maybe they started with him, but they have no idea that it started with him. Like his presence is, it's pretty large. I think he has a couple 100,000 subs. When he does a lot of live streams, like he'll have like 800 to 1,200 people watching, but he's not like burning it down. Brissinger says some women are fucking stupid, brah. Well, some women are stupid. Some men are fucking stupid. Trembling says, I just know this Rollo guy plays the worst sub-tier dad rock on those guitars. Oh, he does. Oh, maybe after this we're going to look up his band. He has a band. They produce music pretty regularly that he pays for and that I have never heard outside of him promoting it.
A lot of the work that I've done really for about 20 years right now gets distorted quite a bit. And I think we're at that point right now where things are getting distorted. And again, to the point where I've got to come on the Dr. Phil show and be an apologist for Andrew Tate, which I am not going to do.
Yeah. So why do they call you the godfather of the manosphere?
The manosphere is sort of a consortium of guys who get together and they compare notes. So the manosphere proper started right around, I would say 2002 in forums. It developed and evolved out of the old pickup artist seduction community forums that were online at that time. And then it developed into the blog era, and then it developed into the social media era. And now here we are in the YouTube era. And it's been, like I said, about 20 years coming right now. But the manosphere proper is is a consortium of guys who get together and they compare notes about really three main things: money, muscles, and game. So, and by game, I use game in the terms of social skills at this point. So,
And these pickup artist sites that you're talking about, people were putting up websites and all about how to pick up women.
that originally was discussions on forums where men all over the world would get together and say, let's compare notes. Let's compare notes. Let's get together and let's see if we can figure this out.
Well, I've seen a lot of seminars and stuff where you can sign up and take a course, and they guarantee you if you have trouble getting dates or picking up women, they tell you that they guarantee you take this course, you'll date the hottest girl in the room. And
I don't know anyone that
cetera,
is
et cetera.
guaranteeing that at this stage. I don't think anybody has ever guaranteed that. However, if there is a benefit, a net benefit for that, it is the fact that you can take a guy such as Ben here and level him up from, say, a 5 to a 6. Is that not an improvement? If you went,
He was a fucking chud nerd. And, you read something like The Rational Male and you really get your shit together, okay? You start lifting those weights. Trumpzilla says, is this bald guy in front? Phil won't have the Sandman on. Oh, Sandman. Trumpzilla, you and I have a difference of opinion about Sandman. That guy he's something else. I know he has the air of an intellectual, but Trumpzilla says this dude has the body language of Dr. Chilton from Silence of the Lambs. He actually looks like him a little bit too. Yeah. Brissinger says, how much did he contribute to distortion? That's an interesting question, Brissinger.
went from being ordinary to being somewhat extraordinary. Is that not a net benefit to a gentleman like Ben here?
Again, we come to this idea of like the generation of lost men, of men that didn't have strong paternal figures in their lives, and then they go out and they look for it. And I don't begrudge people that at all. I don't begrudge anybody that. That sucks. That fucking blows. To find yourself like ill-equipped, But people like Rollo Tomassi, holy shit, they're just like, they're so negative about everything. And there are also these people also that create, like Brissinger had asked, this distortion, this notion that you're trying to find like a 22-year-old virgin. Like you should go and fuck as many women as you possibly can and live this lifestyle of the bachelor. And then when you're like 35, you settle down, you found yourself success, and then you try to find a 22-year-old virgin. And you're like, Jesus Christ, especially like I had said before, well, you're kind of in a situation then at that point that you're going to find people that are hypergamous, people that are trying to climb the social ladder by being involved with you, that are dating you. It's kind of it's kind of a bad way to go about things, in my opinion. Hagbert says, Sandman, the drunk wrestler? No, there's a guy on YouTube and on BitChute. His name is Sandman. He goes by Sandman. And he's I think he's a MGTOW guy, red pill MGTOW dude, who does promotions for sex dolls.
You say the greatest problem with men is men are purposeless and sedated by pornography, online video games, alcohol, or marijuana.
Yes, absolutely.
What do you mean?
Yeah, that's true. All those things are true. I like Dr. Phil asked these fucking questions as if these are not net negatives for people, and that people don't form bad habits as a consequence of these things. Yeah, it creates apathy. They're bad things, like when not balanced correctly. Everything in moderation, as they say. Trumpzilla says, how about the guy who does Aren't You Glad You're Not in a Relationship? I don't know that guy. I'm not sure if I know that guy. I may have watched him in the past. There was like a year ago where I watched a bunch of these dudes. And Sandman I watched actually just a couple months ago. I think there's a video clip of it on our YouTube. It's like NIGHTCAP versus Sandman, I think.
Means sedated by.
How old are you? 24.
That's 24.
24 years old. So we're looking at Gen Z. You're looking at a generation that was acculturated and socialized behind a screen. We have a a generation of what we call lost boys right now who don't have a father figure. They don't have any guidance, whether it's masculinity or much else for that matter. And so, of course, if I can say, hey, look, I've got.
Trumpzilla says lots of screaming women. Yeah, I've seen a lot of stuff like that. I think like if these guys like kind of couch their advice more in the idea of like be more choosy instead of just being a fuck boy, I would probably have a lot more respect for them, but they don't. And then they cut off avenues of success in terms of relationships by suggesting that every woman that you meet has an ulterior motive that is conscious, that they're going to lie to you. They're going to steal from you. They're going to get something from you. Because they think the only way to meet women is to go to fucking clubs. Yeah, you got to go to the club. You got to go meet these ratchet whores at clubs. That becomes what they sell as like an average woman. Now, that may be more true every day. Maybe there's more and more the lion's share of that because of cultural shit and because of the way people are raised and the way people are reared. There's a kind of this non-parenting phenomenon that happened with people like my age and maybe even the generation before me, that their parents just kind of were very hands off and didn't give a lot of advice. There was no curation in your life. And I think a lot of that stuff has had a really negative effect. Trumpzilla says, and the girl who deleted 2 years of video game history and threw her out.
I'm an older gentleman and I can help level you up, and common sense is so rare right now, we can commodify it. Then I'm going to go and do my best to help men. I'm not in the business of helping men become better men. I'm in the business of helping men have the tools and the equipment so that they can build their own lives.
You say the greatest problem with men is men are purposeless and sedated by pornography, online video games, alcohol, or marijuana.
Yes, absolutely.
What do you mean sedated by?
They're escapisms is what they are. If your crummy life is, if your escapisms are better than your crummy life, then you're going to dwell more in those escapisms. So what do men?
And he's right on. He's right on with this observation too. I totally agree with this. I think most people my age probably understand this on some level. Trembling Color says, I'd love to see the wrestler Sandman on Dr. Phil smoking a Winston and cracking open a Bud Heavy in his Zubaz guinea pants. Brissinger says, MMC, club, or church? Well, you got to go with the church. Honestly, I'm not even religious. And you can find yourself a church girl if you can, dude. Do it. Kato says, well said, Shaun. That was my experience. Boomer parents had the just do what makes you happy, non-advice. Yeah, I think my parents kind of fought against that a little bit. Like I said, I was like an Irish Catholic, kind of a traditional Roman Catholic family. And they fought against that a little bit. But I also noticed, like, it's more of a hindsight observation, especially about my father, is that my father, for most of my life, my parents had me when they were very young. He didn't have the knowledge base. He didn't have the equipment to do it, to really give me what I needed, because his father didn't. His father completely fucking failed him. He was a selfish, kind of narrow-minded person, a very smart guy, a really smart dude. He was kind of one of these people that knew a little bit about everything. But he really did a disservice to my father. And I felt the effects of that. I didn't understand that at the time. It's not now that I have my own family. I'm 10 years deep into a marriage. I have 2 kids that I kind of like really understand what was happening. Because so much of my 20s, I just felt fucking lost. I just felt lost. I just didn't know what to do with myself.
Do today with are addicted to pornography. Anyone in this room on their phone can go get hardcore pornography anytime they want to. There's a reason why it's free. If you go and you look at marijuana being legalized, if you look at the opioid epidemic right now, if you look at the way we sedate men today, that is the number one, I think anyways, is the number one problem that we're looking at for really the latter half of the millennial generation and all of Generation Z right now.
Yeah, and you talked about the suicide rate.
No, I gotta say, that's dead on, dude. I think that is dead on. There is a form of sedation that's going on. I don't think it's just men, though. Well, I think it's men in terms of sedation, but in terms of like the kind of the propagandizing and what you should find important and stuff. Like there's been such a focus on like women being successful and achieving their goals to try to kind of like correct the inequality. That it's really fucked with a lot of relationship dynamics. Like people don't live in the same universe anymore, and it's really hard to find somebody to connect with, and let alone somebody that like shares your values. It's really hard. Brissinger says exactly. Cato says the thing is that I don't know what parents would do now as far as direction goes, just as far as jobs. Things are changing too quickly. Well, that's why you have to be principles and values first. You have to instill your kids with good principles, a good foundation, because those things will guide a person. They'll guide a person through their life. It helps them with how to make decisions. How to make decisions. You have to be principled. You have to have integrity. You have to have values, and let those things kind of be your guide a little bit. Kind of like take your hand off the wheel a little bit. It does a lot of heavy lifting for you.
Rate for men is 3.5 to 5 times,
depending on whose numbers you're looking at and what the demographics are.
Yeah, than it is for women. Mm-hmm. And you interpret that as meaning what?
I interpret that as meaning that those are deaths of despair. We have a term for that right now. Yeah. Men get zeroed out. They build up lives. They build up personalities. They build up life equity, let's just say. They lose a job. They lose their wives. They lose out on something. And no one is there to tell them how to bounce back from that rejection, how to bounce back from that defeat, how to come back from being zeroed out. So they're faced with two really very real decisions. One is rebuild yourself or delete.
And this is what I'm talking about. This idea, like in a normal functional society, you would be able to lean back on your family to find these things, to shore you up a little bit. But people don't even have access to that anymore. They don't have access to that anymore. There's such a disgusting indifference to the pain of young men. It's really corrosive. It's really disgusting. And I think most people my age have felt it, at least in some capacity. Just this kind of listlessness, just feeling fucking lost. No motivation.
Yourself. And unfortunately, most men are deleting themselves right now.
Most men are deleting themselves. What?
Well, the prime demographic for suicide for men right now is 45 to 65 years old. It's what they call deaths of despair. We constantly harp on the fact that men don't have friends, they don't have close friends, they don't have the same networks that women do. And then we put the blame for their mental health back on them by saying it's toxic masculinity, and if you guys were just more like women, then you would reach out for therapy of some sorts. If women...
Yeah, I wish this guy was like more focused on this stuff, because I'm a little bit more familiar with his broader work. I've never read The Rational Male, in fairness. I've never read his books. Maybe I should. But, honestly, like, he's not saying anything I disagree with right now. I think he's pretty on point.
Were killing themselves at 4 times the rate that men are, you would have a dedicated month, and the NFL would change their uniforms to pink or something else so that we would have some sort of female suicide prevention month. But we don't see that right now because we blame it on toxic masculinity.
What do you mean when you say media celebrates masculinity as equaling acting feminine?
Well, that's the only time that the mainstream media will ever celebrate masculinity is when you see The Rock in a tutu. Whenever you see men behaving conventionally feminine,
dude, he's 100% right. That's the only thing that people celebrate, is if you are able to bend the fucking knee. Bend the knee a little bit. Just bend the knee a little bit. You're fucking cool. You're a good, cool, confident guy. Like, oh, of course, I totally understand, Brissinger says, many ways to suicide. Booze works. Many ways. That's true. You're not wrong. There's lots of ways to be self-destructive. 100%.
That's when the media decides to celebrate it. But yet when a guy is acting in a conventionally masculine way, we do not celebrate that. and we find some way to demonize that.
And what's conventionally masculine?
Men are, by and large, in a general sense, 99.9% larger, more muscular, more physically adept than women are. So we can look at what are the traits that are associated with that. But, determinism, determination.
How are men more determined than women?
Mentally speaking, if you look at the differences, the genetic differences.
Trembling Color says, "quote unquote, real men wear pink." Yeah, exactly. That's a great example of it.
Between men and women, men tend to be more interested in things. Women tend to be more interested in people. Women tend to be in the social fields. Men tend to be in the more mechanical fields. So if there's a conventional masculinity, it's related to the way that our brains are structured. It doesn't have anything to do with social constructionism.
Yeah. Well, when we come back, we're going to meet a father who says men have been left behind. We'll be right back.
I love it. And the guitar comes in. Dr. Phil.
Behind. We'll be right back. Monday on an all-new Dr. Phil.
My daughter is addicted to social media.
His teenage son shot him and then killed his mother because they took away the violent video game Daniel was addicted to. That's much.
Well, maybe we're taking it a little far here. We're being a little overly literal. They may have been other things wrong in that house before video games got to him.
Closed captioning provided by Have You?
I have had opportunities to cheat for pretty much my entire marriage. The healthiest way to have a good marriage is to have opportunity, but she gives you no reason, and so she takes care of you. Now, there's a lot of other guys who are in the same boat, right?
This guy's getting blowjobs on the reg. I can tell you that much. No reason to go looking. No reason to go looking if you're getting blowjobs, and maybe anal like twice a year. Trembling says, that sour-faced old hag they had on the show before the break. Hagbert says, got to call Elon again about that Zoobox constellation. Really do. We really got to figure this out.
They are with a woman who takes care of them, even though they have the opportunity to cheat. Those guys, the women that they're with, realize that that guy is the kind of guy that other men want to be and other women want to. And so as there's that hindbrain realization of that, prompts behavior on the part of that woman to say, you know what, he's a good dog, but I got to pet him to keep him on the porch.
Well,
they're going to interpret this as like suggesting that like men own women and women's duty is to pleasure their man to keep him from going astray. I mean, like, however crudely he said it, he's just talking about having a healthy relationship, just having a healthy sex life, etc. Those things do stop you from even thinking about other women, no matter what the opportunity is. He's not wrong about that. I think that's a real thing, honestly. I don't want to be too personal, but my sex life is awesome. I have a great sex life, but like I know people that don't. I know people that have stepped out. Like I know that shit exists, and a lot of it comes back to this kind of fundamental problem of their relationship and communication and kind of mutual needs. Brissinger says, Dr. Phil definitely taking a shit on live TV. Only during the breaks. He's like, hold on, guys. How much we're going to be gone for 4 minutes? Hold on. Shit, man. I had some fucking chili. Let me tell you something. Trembling says, I hate the prevalence of cigars as a masculine symbol. Really annoys me. So many comedians use them as a crutch to look cool and successful. Yeah, like cigars definitely have become like a little bit of a status symbol. I guess that probably goes back to like Arnold Schwarzenegger. That's as far back as my mind would go. I'm sure there's examples of it before. I mean, you go watch old movies, everybody's smoking cigarettes, but cigars, in terms of like it being like kind of a masculine, identified as like kind of this masculine thing, I blame Arnold Schwarzenegger. I blame old Arnold.
Parents today say they're more worried about their sons becoming successful adults than their daughters. So what's troubling young men today? Now, I brought together some people who presume to know about this.
I have to say, I have to give credit to Dr. Phil because he's at least facilitating the conversation, and he allowed those guys, Rollo and that cue ball dude, to speak their piece. He let them say what they wanted to say. I give him credit for that. Putting that on daytime television, sure.
This because they spent time looking into it. Richard Reeves is a senior fellow at the Brookings Institute and wrote the book of Boys and Men.
Is this the guy? Isn't this the guy? Didn't we watch a video with this dude? He was talking about how boys are falling behind in school. I think this is the same guy.
Why the modern male is struggling, why it matters, and what to do about it. Now,
Brissinger says smoking is fun, dude. Smoking rocks. Okay, listen, I was a lifelong smoker. I started smoking when I was like 14, 15. I smoked till I was about 30, and then I relapsed, smoked for another 2 years, and now I'm like almost 2 years without smoking cigarettes. But like, I have this. I have this now. I have like this vape, which is probably not that much better. But what I try to do with all of my vices, I keep them to nightcap. Like, I don't drink very much outside of streaming. I don't smoke very much outside of streaming. This is kind of like when I let loose. This is when I blow off steam, you know?
Marilyn York is a men's rights attorney. And Imran Ahmed is the CEO and the founder of the Center for Countering Digital Hate. So thanks to all three of you for joining the conversation. Marilyn, let me start with you. You've been listening so far. What do you have to add to the conversation before I ask you any specific questions?
Anytime a man tries to interpret a woman, it's embarrassing. And anytime we try to interpret a man, it's embarrassing. Like, we need to stay in our lane a little bit more. When I hear a man telling me what I want as a woman, there's just some misconceptions being thrown about as though the generalities are true. And we're missing a huge component of relationships that's a really important one, and that's intimacy. We're talking all about prestige, and relationships have two components.
And I would agree. And honestly, I would agree with her on this point that the idea that there's a hyper focus on status and prestige and what that means to your life, as if that comports to most people. It doesn't. It doesn't comport to most men. It doesn't comport to most women. That's not how people kind of congregate. That's not how people deal with each other. But because of social media and because of gurus and influencers, etc., there is a perception that that is what is most valuable, when it's really not. When it's really not. Trembling says, Brissinger says, cancer is it? No, cancer is not fun. Trembling says, it is the dude. His solution will be something woke and retarded. Probably. Brissinger says, balance is everything. I totally agree. Trembling says, I love smoking cigarettes, but gave it up mostly because it is unaffordable. And that was 12 years ago. Good for you, man. But yeah, dude, cigarettes got stupid expensive. Even down here in old South Kakalaki, cigarettes are expensive. I lived in Anchorage, Alaska when I was in my early 20s. And cigarettes used to cost, when I left Alaska in like 2009-ish, maybe closer to 2010, cigarettes were $12 a pack. $12 a pack. And I was a pack-a-day fella. I worked at a gas station at the time / liquor store. So I would steal them. I would just steal cigarettes. Yeah. Kato said, never seemed enjoyable to me. I tried smoking a pipe. Didn't seem relaxing. Yeah, it's not for everybody. Hey, dude, if that's a monkey that you can keep off your back, keep it off your fucking back.
Components at their very base: intimacy and prestige. And every relationship at its core is a mix of the two. Even take the super old rich guy and the super young hot girl. There is a component of intimacy to their relationship that works for them. In addition to the prestige that comes with his success and his monetary gain and her beautiful body and her youth.
Yeah, but that's because you've commodified yourselves. Like, that's, I mean, like, she's not even really disagreeing with these people fundamentally. There's a commodification that happens. You're like, well, I have these things and you have those things. And then we exchange. That's also kind of unhealthy. Trembling says they were roughly $5 a pack when I quit, but I was a pack a day. Yeah. Kato says, now I can see it. Shaun working at a convenience store went by the name Dante. Almost, actually. I had a very clerk's lifestyle when I worked at that gas station. Hagbert says, I've got a cigarette in my mouth right now. Fucking quitters. Brothers keeping the people alive. alive. He's keeping the dream alive. For me, it was even more than just like the addiction. I just love smoking. I love the sensation of it. I love the fucking feeling of it. I love it. I love it. It's one of the hardest things I've ever given up on. And I didn't even, and I honestly, I kind of cheat. I'm cheating. This is a cheat. I'm cheating. Trumpzilla says smoked 5 packs a day, never carried a lighter. Kata says that's crazy. That's crazy.
And so I feel like we're missing it and we're doing a disservice to both genders. And the other thing is it always feels like a gender battle. Like it's always men versus women. And even at home, I cannot talk about this with my own husband. I cannot talk about men's rights with him. I want to kill him in about 30 seconds. And I'm like, I'm on your team. Like I represent dudes and I hate you. And I'm never.
Yeah, because you're a subversive element that seems to kind of miss the point. As she had even stated herself. Like she gets cringe. She feels cringe. She gets embarrassed when men try to represent women and women try to represent men as if they understand like kind of some sort of fundamental faculty of each gender. And she's just being like, well, I'm an expert though. I'm outside of myself. Clearly not. Clearly not.
Ever extreme enough for him. And he likes to spew facts at me. Like men are always guilty when the police come. I'm like, what? Who have you been arrested? Last time I checked, you've never even been investigated. What do you mean this always happens? He's like, it's true. It's a fact. I'm like, oh my God, it's a fact again. And I do know it's true. I actually watch my poor male clients get arrested for ridiculous stuff all day. I can give you 100 case studies that would break your heart. But when he says that, I want to deck him. And why? Why does it have to be that way? Why can't I just calm down and listen and not be in competition? And I can't. I fail, at least at home. I'll try to do better for you, doctor.
Thank you. Yeah. Tell me.
Catching up with the chat. Trembling says, plus smoking looks cool as fuck, and it's a great way to illustrate and punctuate in conversation. This is very true. This is very true. Trumpzilla says, Harry Dean Stanton smoked a pack a day at 90. See the movie Lucky. It's great. Lucky is a great movie. It's a great swan song for Harry Dean Stanton.
If you're going to deck me right before you do it, right? Now, Richard, what do you think about Andrew Tate?
Well, first of all, everybody has heard of Andrew Tate. Certainly everybody who's under the age of 40. He had 12 billion views on TikTok. He was searched 4 times as much as recession, for example. And so people know who he is. And I think I was actually listening to Ben earlier, and I have three sons in their 20s as well. I got to tell you, the paternal instinct in me was coming out very, very strongly listening to you. I really felt where you were coming from. But I also think the fact we're having this conversation this way tells us what a horrible mess we've got ourselves into. It is quite true that we don't have a positive vision of masculinity that we're passing on, but it has to be one that is compatible with equality between men and women.
Oh my God. This misnomer of equality. There is no such thing as equality. There's no equality in just natural people, even between men and women. The idea, like women are better at some things and men are better at some things, and that's fine. It's the thing that has gotten us to where we are. This idea, this postmodern project that we want to deconstruct everything to make everything fucking even Stevens is so hard R retarded. Fucking retarded. Kato says, interesting. Thanks. I like Harry Dean Stanton. Yeah, it's a great movie. It's like a meditation on getting older and purpose and what you've done with your life. It's a really good movie. Prissinger says, women think that they have to be in control of everything when they're at home. If anything is out of control, they're trying to destroy it. They're trying to destroy it. Well, it depends. I mean, it depends on the women, but I can see what you mean, like kind of broadly. Trumpzilla says James Darren and David Lynch, Eraserhead. Eraserhead's a great movie. I love Eraserhead. It's especially if you've had a kid. Eraserhead is good. Kato says to Trembling, I am certain it is a huge social thing, taking breaks and shooting the shit with coworkers, just smoking and chilling. If you just stand there, it would be weird. You're right. No, smoking is it's like a social aphrodisiac because you're going to have a lot of conversations out in the smoke pit. You're going to have a lot of conversations out on smoke breaks. It's kind of becomes like a bonding experience. Trembling says there is no equality on any level, not even within oneself throughout life. Exactly. It's this chasing this fucking dragon. Modernity chasing this dragon is just so counterintuitive to find success. because people don't think about things in like kind of broader terms anymore. It's all about me. It's all about me, 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 me. These kind of selfish, narcissistic impulses that we all have. That's what it becomes about. And it's kind of it's a very negative thing. And I think a lot of this has to do with like people, honestly, you know, not being part of families, not being part of legacies. When you have a family, you start living for something a little deeper than yourself. And you start thinking of your life and the things that you do relative to that, relative to your family, relative, especially to your fucking kids. Like I have 2 sons. Every day, that's all I think about. All I think about. How am I like serving my family? How am I serving my sons? And I do whatever I have to do in my own life and my own ability to do the best that I can with that. I'm not always successful. I fail all the time. But it gives me something to strive towards, you know? Kata says, Shaun, quote unquote, speaking broadly on women, I see what he did there. Well, actually, I didn't mean that, but thank you. That's a good one.
We need a positive script that we can give to our boys, and I've tried to raise my sons this way, but not one that in any way makes women seem lesser. We don't have to make women seem less for men to be more. And that's right. And
yeah, but that's not equality. Like men not thinking that women are lesser is not the problem. That's not the fucking issue. He just shifted the goal post in real time. Like that's not what anybody cares about or are talking about. Like, I mean, sure, I guess if you want to talk about specifically enraptured with somebody like Andrew Tate, maybe, but that's not really the goal. It's about like understanding where you are and what your roles are and how you serve each other, especially when you're in a relationship and especially when you have a family.
Some of what you say has some real truth to it. There are some biological differences between us, but they're not determinative. They don't determine your role. You say the biological role. Women are designed to bear children. Well, duh. I think most women know that they bear children, but that doesn't mean that that's their destiny. That's an idea we left behind in the 19th century. And so
that's not their destiny, because the idea of like creating life is so antiquated. It's such a stupid thing to think about. Oh, it's not their, nobody says it's your fucking destiny, but it's a very, very particular, special, amazing miracle of a thing that you can do. And this fucking retarded notion that we should be encouraging women not to, I don't know, have families, finds deeper meaning in their life. Yeah, it's going really great for everybody. It's going great for everyone. Trembling says the obsession with equality is a shitty, hopeless rebellion against reality, which is hierarchical that the left has been engaging in since the Enlightenment. No lines detected. Brissinger says, do you know what if you haven't had a kid, you're missing out? Everyone should have at least a kid. No, not necessarily. You know, I don't think if you truly don't want to have kids and you don't want to have a family, no, not necessarily. I don't think everybody's equipped for it, in all honesty. But I think that most people cut themselves short. I think you'd be surprised the challenges that you can rise to. You know, like especially as a man, like men often meet their circumstances. Well, I guess women too. Human beings often meet their circumstances and they want the best things for themselves, even selfishly. And sometimes that can manifest and just like doing good by your kids, doing good by your wife, doing good by your husband, whatever. Because you get like kind of a selfish little rush from that. Your life is just going to be better for it. Like that's the reality. You know, like I would never ever tell somebody like, oh, you have to have children, you have to start a family, you have to do all this stuff. But I think a lot of people dismiss it without really considering what it would mean to their lives. Because there's a lot of fear that comes with that. Like bringing a life into the world and getting married and having mutual responsibility to each other is kind of a scary idea, especially in the modern world. It's a scary fucking concept. It makes you uncomfortable. But most of the times, the best things in life are the scariest things, or the things that you actually have to kind of take a little bit of a leap of faith and try and go for it and throw yourself into it. And don't just quit when it gets fucking hard. That's another problem we have with like divorce rates and family separations and all this shit. People, as soon as things get uncomfortable, As soon as things aren't idyllic anymore, 5 years into a relationship, people just fucking quit. Relationships are work. Marriages are work. There are peaks and valleys. You're with another human being. It's ridiculous to suggest that every single day of your life is going to just be the best day ever because you're together. That's retarded. And a lot of people have that perspective and then they just give up. Which is even more subversive and insidious that culture supports that, but also and just encourages you to be selfish, especially if you have fucking kids, especially if you have children. You owe it to your kids to fucking try a little harder, in my opinion. Trembling says, I know you're not religious, but even heaven and hell are hierarchical. Well, I'm not. Well, I guess what would I say? I'm not religious, but I come from a very Catholic background. I live my life in a very Catholic way, even if I don't acknowledge it all the time. And actually, look for the future. Actually, Big Paul and I are diving back into our Catholic roots, and we're going through it together, and we're reading books and watching lectures, and we're gonna edit it all together into a big podcast series. So that should be cool. If you're interested in stuff like that, we are doing stuff like that because we're at the point in our lives where it's worth reconsidering things, right? You're not if you made a decision at 25, that doesn't mean it has to be forever. Bersinger says, this is why I think it's a good idea for people to smoke. If you smoke, you know that you are a piece of shit. Well, I don't know if that's true. Kato said, that also is my boomer parents in a nutshell. One of my earliest memories was my parents describing they were getting divorced to me. Yeah, I can imagine that's almost slightly traumatic. This idea that they have given up. What are you supposed to do with the rest of your life? Your parents that kind of model everything for you, right? They're your gods. They have all the answers, especially when you're a kid. And then they give up. What are they teaching you? It's not a good thing. I'm sorry. I don't mean to be offensive towards anybody, but it's not good. It's not good. Brissinger says, and if you know that you're a piece of shit, you will put up with more shit, especially if a woman and the man both smoke. Well, then you'll have opportunities to talk, I guess. Brissinger says, I'm kind of joking about the piece of shit thing, but I think people get way too uptight. Some people do, yeah.
Got to find a way to have a really positive script for our boys that is different to femininity. I agree with that. There are differences, but it's got to be one that's fit for the 21st century. And I got to tell you, that means one that absolutely looks women in the eye as our absolute equals. Even if we're different in some important ways, we are absolutely equal. Our relationships have to be built on that equality. So let's.
We had to go back to that lady with the silent nod. It has to be for the 21st century. Why? This is the fallacy of this shit. The idea that what we're doing now is the best thing. As if the shit doesn't change constantly, especially with culture and society. What we're doing now is the best thing. It's the right thing. Why? Why? You have to make an argument for that. You can't just say it is so. You can't just say, well, it's the 21st century. Things are different now. Does that mean it was for the benefit of culture, society, humanity, or not? You actually have to make a case for that. And fuck tards like this. And I remember watching that stupid fucking video where this guy was talking about boys in school. He makes these same flaccid, pedantic, facile fucking arguments. And it is infuriating. Sorry, I'll get off my soapbox. Hold on. Let me hit that X button. Spooky stuff.
To get on with the task of a positive script for masculinity that is not anti-women.
Yes.
Do you think that's possible?
Do you think that's possible? Guitar riff. Trembling says, just reminded me of a line from the movie The Crow. I like, mother is the name of God on the lips and hearts of all children. 100%. 100%, which I think is a reference to the Virgin Mary, actually. Brissinger says there are a lot of retarded fucking declarations in this fucking country. Cato says, another great point, Shaun. That very thing makes me angry. This false dichotomy of past versus future with regard of things we can choose. 100%. 100%. Trembling says, but no, a career is more important than being that for women. Yeah, I know. Imagine taking this sacred, beautiful thing and saying well, it's not really, is that really important? Is it a good thing that you have the ability to actually mold and construct society by being mothers? It's such a wild lie that has been sold to people.
What are your thoughts? Okay, everybody doing okay? Good. All right. Well, we have.
Now we're gonna give you a brand new fucking car so you can schlep those kids around.
A surprise for all of you today. You were given tickets when you came in, right? Okay.
Okay, so you can take them out because
That is definitely Dr. Phil's wife. Okay, I was right. I didn't know that. I just felt it. You know?
it's raffle time. Yes. And each of you will have the chance to win a mattress. Foundation.
Having this intense conversation, there's a point of contention, and they're like, raffle time, motherfuckers. Raffle time. Have the raffle. Bersinger said, honestly, truth be told, I believe that guys need to live in defiance of their parents and belief systems. Well, that's a natural occurrence. Everybody is rebellious. Bersinger says, if they didn't smoke, smoke your head off. Well, there's a natural rebellion that happens, I think, in most people, especially young men, because you want to find your own path. You want to find your own path. But if we remember the story of the prodigal son, oftentimes once you mature a little bit, you get a little bit older, and you can reflect and be introspective, your parents oftentimes were not wrong. They weren't wrong about their observations in life, etc. Trebling says, quote unquote, we have prizes for you that you must pay the taxes on to be able to claim.
And frame from Big Fig Mattress, valued at around $2,000.
Oh, all right.
Trump still says that's what's divorced him. No, I don't think so. This episode is from a few days ago. This is from January 27th, 2023.
Well, the mattress is built specifically for the plus size sleeper like me to get the rest and comfort that they need.
You know, fat fucks like me. You're just a husky fella, dude. You ain't fat. Don't worry about it.
So these American-made mattresses offer a hybrid construction featuring up to 1,600 individually wrapped coils, 3 layers of.
I love it. The big ass. Look how much weight this bed can take. Oh my goodness. Look at this big ass motherfucker on here. That bed ain't no squeaking. No squeaking on this bed, no matter how big your ass is. Full on comfort. 100%. Sleep mattress. Get you one.
Of high density foam and a thermal gel quilted top, all to ensure a cool and comfortable night's sleep.
Okay, the finished mattress is compressed, rolled into a box, and delivered to you. And it also comes with a 120-day trial period and a 20-year warranty. So you want to crank her up?
I want.
He knows his audience. I'll give him that. He knows his audience. The big fig. Kiddo says, laugh out loud. Yeah, that's the plus size model they chose. Trembling says, it's funny that hardly any people that win cars and boats on TV can't claim them because of the tax they have to pay up front. They can't claim them, or I think that because I know that there was a big scandal with this Mr. Beast guy. Remember, Mr. Beast? I've never watched a single Mr. Beast video in my life, but I know that what he does when he gives people extravagant prizes, he also facilitates them a way to sell them and actually just take the money and just keep the money. I always appreciated that. Kato says, how dare they not support Mike Lindell? Mike Lindell will be primed for Dr. Phil. Bersinger says, my pillow, one and the same. Actually, I don't know. Can we see it? Can you guys see it? Got Mike Lindell over here. There he is. Courtesy of Tarami. Tarami literally sent me a fucking life-size cutout of Mike Lindell because we were joking about Mike Lindell one night. There he is. He's right there. He's always riding shotgun. Well, I guess not shotgun, but he's my ride or die guy. He's always here.
I love doing this. Okay, so one extra roll for this gentleman. I promised him I would. Okay. All right, here goes. Lucky number. I have it right here. Ooh,
So excited.
Want to tell it?
Number 56. Who's got number 56?
Oh, I was hoping it'd be Rollo Tomassi. She's like, oh shit, it's me. I got a bed.
6. You do? So congratulations to you. You win that, and it comes in a box, and so when you open it, like goes. So everyone is a winner.
Good luck getting that home. I know you're on vacation. Trebling says this mattress looks like shit. You know, I gotta say, I have in my life, not the current mattress we have, but the mattress before came in a box like that and was like vacuum sealed like that. And it was okay. It was an all right bed. Not like top of the line. Like no top of the line bed or mattress rather is gonna come in a box like that. But better than I would have thought it would have. And it is fun to cut open that plastic and watch it unfold in front of you. Come to life. Trembling says, I'd rather do the one Wang is always plugging. Oh shit. Was it does I don't know what he's actually, you know, I don't know what he slings. I don't know what Wang slings.
Winner, because Big Fig Mattress is giving each of you $100 Amazon gift card. You spend on anything you want. And a 300.
That's good. You know what I call that? You know what I call that? I call that 4K. Ooh, somebody gives me $100 Amazon gift card. We're buying 4Ks, boys.
$50 discount on a Big Fig mattress purchase. All right. So for more information, go to bigfigmattress.com. So thanks for being here. All right.
Let's get on with the task of a positive script for masculinity that is not anti-women.
Yes. Do you think that's possible?
No, I think equality is a canard right now. Equality is defined by what? See, the thing about
equal opportunities.
Okay, equal opportunities.
A female president.
But yet, okay.
Women on college campuses.
Okay,
equal
those
pay.
are equality of outcome right now, not equality of opportunity. We have equality of opportunity. What on this side of the fence, anyways, is advocating for is equality of outcome, and that's the real problem that we're looking at right now. The other part of this is that what is equality defined by? So, if I have certain strengths that make me better at a particular task, and you do not, then there's no equality between the two of us. If you can see what I'm saying here.
Okay, this is the right argument. Can I respond?
Sure.
This is the right argument. So you mentioned the difference between men and women in terms of men being a bit more into things and women being a bit more into people.
Yes, I believe you quoted Dr. Pinker in your own book.
Yes, and that's true. But it's not true that all men are into things and all women are into people. The distribution.
Oh my God, this retarded argument. Not all. Yeah, and it's not all, but it's most. It's most. And that's the point. Like, you cannot change society based on very narrow margins. That's what we're dealing with right now. Like, about, well, that's with like the trans shit, the trans stuff. It's like we need to upend society for a very narrow lane. We need to change everybody's definition and everybody's understanding of things for a very fucking narrow lane of existence. That doesn't mean that those people should be denigrated or you shouldn't help them out or help them find their way in society, etc. But there should be other mechanisms to do that. You don't have to upend society to do that. It's fucking, oh my God. Oh my God. Oh my God. Brissinger says, man, I'm pretty sure they got better prizes 10 years ago. Trembling says, gonna get my ass a California King to bad Santa some big girls. That's what Dr. Phil is telling me when you read between the lines. You're not wrong. You're not wrong. You ain't gonna shit right for a week. Brissinger says, exactly. They want to run us off a cliff on some weird ass theory, and they're completely insane. How about we look at the examples we already had in local and state governments? How is that going for us? Exactly.
Then are not on
so what
the
that
bell curve.
suggests, based on work that I've looked at, is that under conditions of equal opportunities, you wouldn't have 50% of engineers would be women. It would be about 30% of engineers would be women. Right now, it's 15%. Now, you might say,
hold on. Well, he's saying equal opportunities because I think he's trying to couch in this the social aspect that like men and women will tend to hire people like themselves. That's probably a real thing. I assume I know it's a real thing. Because I know it's a real thing. But anyways, Trumzilla says, okay, this is it. Women should never be in combat, nor positions of power to send men into combat. Maybe so. Or it's not even that they shouldn't be in combat, but there are particular roles that people just are better equipped for. And you can shore each other up in those ways. Trelming says, limeys are always wrong about anything. Neutered island of fruits. Archie Bunker was right. Fag country. Trumpzilla says no one should be a general if they haven't killed a man in combat. Period. Actually, I would agree with that. Like, if you have not like felt the weight of what you're asking people to do, and this is and like it's kind of a broader idea of what I have always felt, like in a microcosm kind of way. Like, I've been a manager of a lot of people in my life, and I would never ask somebody to do something that I wasn't willing to do or I can't do better. That was always my principle. People liked to work for me because of that, because I got down in the shit with people no matter what the job was. Brissinger says, absolutely, women in positions of power is a mistake. Women already have the highest positions of power in the world, and that is our home. Absolutely, for that general idea, absolutely, that is spot on.
Hey, well, of course, only 15% of engineers are women. Their brains don't work like that. Whereas I would say, I think we've got quite a long way to go.
I have a question about what y'all are going.
Where does he get the statistic of like, well, it's 15% now, but it would be, hypothetically, theoretically, it would be 30%. Why? Who is telling? I mean, like, honestly, like in 2023, current year, do you think there are barriers to women to like getting into STEM fields? In fact, there's the exact opposite. There's nothing but incentives. There's nothing but encouragement. Go to Target. Go to Target. Remember a couple of years ago, Target, like their big equality push, their big equity push, and they were like decided to sell T-shirts that said NASA in the girls section. There wasn't enough NASA T-shirts, so girls weren't properly inspired. It's so facile. It's so fucking stupid.
Back and forth about. So what? What the hell difference does it make? What's that have to do with equality? The fact that if men are more into things and women are more into what different? So what does that have to do with equality? Because look, I've been married 46 years. I've been with my wife for 50 years. We've been married 46, and we are not alike in so many ways. But let me tell you, I don't want to be married to me. I get.
Oh, dude, he's so right. This is a real thing. I feel the same way about my marriage and my wife. I would not want to be married to me. It's a burden that she takes on in her life. But yeah. Anyways, just struck me as funny. Kato says there's an ex-cop whose channel I follow. He talks about women being promoted there when they aren't qualified. Yeah, that happens a lot. That happens. We see it. We're seeing it. Look at some of the current cases that are going on about with like women cops not being able to take down perps and drawing tasers, etc. Not a lot of dudes doing that. Meaning to draw tasers, but pulling their gun. Not a lot of dudes doing that. Brissinger says it just seems like there's a big agenda, hidden agenda to dumb everyone down. There is. They want you fucking placated. They want you neutered. They want you to just accept. Just accept. What's the term? Just let bygones be bygones, or whatever you want to call it. Trumpzilla says every woman boss I've ever had was a complete failure and replaced by a man. Brissinger says get us so retarded that when an overwhelming force comes, we are completely powerless. And what is that overwhelming force, though? Right? Do we have existential threats from other countries? Is it more of a intellectual thing? I guess it remains to be seen. Kato says to Brissinger, see Charlotte Iserbyt, who served in the Reagan administration and wrote the book, The Deliberate Dumbing Down of America. Oh, I've read that book. It's a good book.
I think we can all agree.
Yeah.
Actually, I got introduced to her from Alex Jones. There was they did like a big interview series with her. Like, what was that? Like 2011, 2012.
That's unanimity on that.
No, I don't want to be married to someone that thinks like I do, acts like I do, behaves like I do. I don't want to be married to a mirror image of myself.
But I think
I want to be married to somebody that is different, but that doesn't mean that one of us is more or less than the other person. We just bring different ingredients to the table.
All I'm arguing is these are differences on average, and they're going to differ in different places.
Richard's talking about
but we are
equality when it comes to opportunity, which I agree with. And Rollo's talking about equality when it comes to outcomes, which he says, we can't predict and we can't create. But
yeah, there's a name for it, lady. You know the name. It's called equity. It's what rings in the halls of every fucking major institution, every academic discipline is equity. Equity is controlling for outcomes. Just say the fucking word so we can be done with it already.
But I think Rollo wants it for men.
There are
I think
things,
you want outcomes for men to improve.
There
You
are,
just aren't
well,
right about the female outcomes.
Yeah, no, his focus is men, but he's encouraging men, you know, and I don't really like Rollo, but I'll say on this show, I've agreed with him a lot. But what he's saying is that men should take personal responsibility and make something of themselves, like try, build their lives, get in better shape, work a little harder, be more disciplined, etc. Because that's kind of the way. I mean, it's just basic bitch advice. But unfortunately, we live in a time where a lot of people don't get that advice. Brissinger says, well, I don't know, guys. It seems like Russia is not immune to deciding to invade other countries. Drumzilla says, see, Mike Judge, idiocracy. I agree. Brissinger says, China just sent a balloon over, supposedly. The overwhelming force may come from the inside. We may have to all become communists. We'll see. We'll see. Trumpzilla said 2 balloons. Well, there's more than 2 balloons. There's like a whole bunch of them. They're all over the world right now that they're actually reporting on it. Trumpzilla said they shot one down after it passed over the U.S. Yeah, no, they did. It was at Myrtle Beach. Once it crossed Myrtle Beach, they shot it down. They were waiting for it to be over the ocean.
What I would like to see is especially for men, is a focus on it, for a focus on masculinity to begin with at all. Because we can't even have this conversation. Right. We could not have this conversation at a major university in the United States right now without somebody shouting.
Hang on. Let me interrupt because I want you guys to know.
A lot of hard edits on this show. So they definitely had a longer conversation about these things. A lot of hard edits. Back to Dr. Phil.
Who Imran is. He was instrumental in taking Tate down from YouTube.
Thank you.
Why was that important to you?
Because the idea is that he spread
Now, this fucking censorious piece of shit, obviously not an American, has no respect or value of the First Amendment and people's rights and abilities to express themselves, however odious they may be. You know, sunshine is the best disinfectant, everybody. Like, you can't combat Andrew Tate if you send him underground. His influence will still be there. He'll just be underground. You can't have conversations about what he says if you don't know what he says. It's a dumb, facile, stupid fucking argument. Brissinger says, I like how he mentions that this conversation could not happen in a university. It couldn't. It couldn't. They try to all the time. There's just a big thing with what's that guy? Christopher Rufo at a college in Florida. We had to fight with the administration just to have like this general conversation about like about what is and isn't acceptable in schools. Trumpzilla says, "Fight!"
Toxic to the young men that he's primarily being fed into. The TikTok algorithm is set up in a way that it feeds you the most controversial content first.
Yeah, I agree with this guy. We should ban TikTok in America. We should ban it. We should ban the fucking app. We should ban it. It is a cancer. It's a psyop. It's a Chinese government psyop on Americans to get them in this cycle of degeneracy. I agree. We should cancel TikTok. You don't have to cancel Andrew Tate. Maybe we should cancel fucking TikTok. How about that? How about that, everybody? I mean, somebody reverse engineered that thing like years ago, and they posted it on Reddit. I think that's where it was actually originally posted. And it's a fucking spy op. It's a spy program. Trembling Color says, 2 limey pieces of shit. Tar and feather these redcoats. Trumpzilla says, so true, causes suicides. Yeah, that shit is not good. I can't even handle it. I can't handle it, dude. I can't look at TikTok.
Andrew Tate himself understands the algorithm in the way that digital natives do. Within 2.5 minutes of opening a new TikTok account, you're being fed Andrew Tate videos. Right. And that's why he's one of the most seen men in the world talking about men. And the problem is that the ideology that he, of course, is based on yours, Rollo.
Crunk says, what's a spy program? Sorry, I've been in and out a lot tonight. A spy program is that it actually has access to all of the components of your phone, like the camera, the microphone. It's on even when you don't have the app on. It harvests data of all of the other things you do on your phone, and it sends it somewhere. This is pretty well documented. Even in the past few months, people have talked about it because there was like a big controversy about politicians having TikTok. And one of the reasons why, one of the big arguments, because Trump tried to ban TikTok a couple of years ago. And obviously, like, everybody came out against it because it's Trump. So, oh, fucking whatever. Even though everybody knew that this fucking app is incredibly pernicious. Incredibly pernicious. Brissinger says, or Trump says, MK Ultra. It's kind of like a form of it. I would agree. Brissinger says, yeah, I'm the same way. I feel like this is insidious sensation just behind my eyeballs. Trembling Color says, destroy TikTok and eliminate Reels from Instagram and Facebook. Kronk says, no, I know what you mean by that. What app or program are we talking about? Oh, TikTok. We're talking about TikTok.
Which is, one way of looking at the world. I don't think it necessarily leads to great outcomes for people. I don't think it leads to great outcomes for relationships.
Oh my God.
The problem is that your ideology is phenomenally reductive, and ultimately it leads to failure.
And yet I've been responsible for taking the noose off of millions of men's necks.
And
what a stupid argument. So now he goes, I've been responsible for taking the noose off of millions of men's necks. It's like, no, we got to talk about principles. We got to talk about fundamentals. We got to talk about values. This idea that, like, oh, it's so retrograde and it leads to failure and all this shit. Honestly, like, if you were to look at Rollo Tomassi's larger body of work, I think he's a little too MGTOW for my taste. But in terms of how he's represented himself on the show, there's nothing even really that controversial that he's saying. Like 10 years ago, 15 years ago, these would not be controversial topics at all. Krunk says, oh yeah, I worked with a friend to figure out where his cheap ass Chinese cameras were phoning home to. Trumzilla says, I don't think. Exactly. Brissinger says, great, Shaun. Now my paranoia is activated. Now I have to find out how to clean up my phone. You gotta watch out, dude. You gotta watch out. I haven't ever put TikTok on my new phone. I mean, that's not even paranoid. It's just like, I know what it is and I know what I'm giving over. People feel comfortable with that because people are, very short-sighted, I suppose, but it's a massive psyop, in my opinion.
For the last 12 those ideas, when amplified, when added with the social media overlay of controversy, it's led to lots and lots of young men being taught by Andrew Tate that the way to treat a woman if she disrespects you is to grab her by the neck and grab a machete.
Again, I'm not here to be an apologist for someone who has taken my work and distorted it into his red meat social media empire.
What do you mean you took the noose off of men? What do you mean?
I love the cuts. I love the edits. What do you mean took the noose off of men? Guitar. Kiddo says, I rarely install anything on my phone. Trumpzilla says it's too late if you bought anything online, Amazon, Walmart, Etsy. You're not wrong. You're not wrong. Those are also data gathering enterprises. Trembling says, I had no interest in TikTok back when it was called Vine. Short attention span bullshit. I agree.
Is there? What do you mean you took the noose off of men? What do you mean?
What I'm saying is that my work has been at least in some way instrumental in preventing suicides.
It causes harm to women. You talk about suicide.
See, look at this asshole. Like, he can't even focus on the topic. It causes harm to women. First of all, you have to demonstrably prove that. Second of all, you're talking about men's suicidality. You're talking about the problems that men face in society. Can we talk about this for fucking 10 minutes without some asshole like this being like, well, it causes harm to women? In what regard? Like, where's this data coming from? Andrew Tate, I don't like Andrew Tate. But where's it coming from? Where his effect, like, who has the data? Who has done the studies? Nobody. This is just somebody's fucking opinion because he saw something and he disagreed with it.
What's the primary cause of young women dying in America?
You tell me, man.
Partner violence.
Yeah, because men are violent. We have a proclivity for violence. We have better trait aggression than we do agreeable.
You claim to have this great compassion for young men,
yeah,
who you say are harming themselves, and yet when I say to you that the thing that's killing young women is men, you sneer with such anger at me, and you say,
Oh my God, this piece of shit tries to make it completely personal. Where are the statistics about like how much of a lion's share is this in society? How regularly does it occur? Does it happen? Of course it happens. Of course it fucking happens. A lot of fucking monsters out there, a lot of psychopaths. What does that have to do with like, the generalized view, right? No, we don't want to talk about that. We don't want to get into the weeds. We don't want to get into the numbers, actually. It's just so fucking gay.
What do you know? What
Actually,
the
men
do you
are
know
being
what the
killed
number
by
one
themselves.
way of men?
So
being
men are
killed is
killing
right
men,
now?
and men are killing women too.
It's not suicide. It's a male on male violence as well.
We've got some audience members listening to all.
Oh, I love how we cut away from that. Like, what is the number one killer of men? Other men. Yes, everybody is kind of caught in that web. It's a societal thing. It happens across the world. Men are more aggressive. You won, buddy. Jesus Christ. Trembling says the targeted ads are bizarre. You mention something and you see ads for it the next time you go on social media. Yeah, it's very true. It's not weird. It should be expected, I suppose. Yeah, because you give like when you install these things and you look like nobody reads the terms of service. Actually, there's a great South Park episode about this, about the Apple terms of service. It's the human centipede. Nobody reads those things. You have no clue what the fuck like access you're giving to these apps, these companies, etc. There is no opt-in. There's no like choice to opt in. Like if you want the app, you do the thing.
All this, and I see some of you really squirming. If you got a comment or question, raise your hand right now.
Hi, my name is Melissa, and I was just thinking how you were saying that, women are more likely to be this way and men are more likely to be this way. But a lot of it is we are raised to be that way. And
Oh my God, the social constructionism bullshit. Yeah, there's truth to that. We are raised to be certain ways for sure, but there is also things endemic about people just on a physiological, biological level that determines a lot of like your behaviors, what your abilities are, how you're gonna act, etc. It's just, oh my God.
without even having a choice. So I don't understand where you're coming from with that.
Okay, that's because you believe in social constructionism as a primary way of socializing human beings right now. You have natural proclivities as a woman, as a man, that are going to express themselves regardless of societies across the board. It's not all socialization, if anything. The nature versus nurture discussion in that debate has been over since the mid-2000s.
Nothing is all or nothing.
Right.
Is what I'm trying to say.
Exactly. But what I'm saying is that you have innate proclivities as a woman, as a man.
Yeah, he's saying that you're putting too much weight on social constructionism. He could just say that. Kato says, doesn't happen to me, but how often do you search for what you are thinking or talking about? Well, in my case, it's quite a bit, honestly. I'm a curious cat. Trembling says, commies always believe in all nurture and no nature. Yeah, that's their entire worldview. It undergirds everything that they believe. That's why they think the government should be in control of everything in your life, because they're the best people to make those decisions. You're a fucking stupid idiot flesh sack. How can you possibly make any decisions? Hagbard says they've been running the babies and toys experiment for 100 years with the same results, hoping for different results. Exactly. They're just constant. They are literally trying to socially construct a different answer to that question. They're literally trying to socially construct an augmented version of that. They want the answers to be what they want them to be. That's something to be worried about. Like when people are like, oh, the sciences and the studies and all this stuff. Oh, it's like, yeah, because you're actually literally trying to manipulate the data. You're trying to manipulate the subjects of these studies. It's not even crazy. It's just like that. It's just so fucking apparent and everybody knows it. Because just like that Lime he was talking about, he's like, well, it's the 21st century. We have to get on board with the 21st century. Who knows what the fucking 21st century is or what it means or what is best for everybody? Like, it's this idea that you have a fucking answer for something that you cannot possibly have an answer for. Social forces are incredibly malleable. They change over time, but there are constants, and some of them are wrapped up in gender and sex. And it's so retarded that we keep having these same conversations over and over and over again, hoping that things will be what we want them to be. Brissinger says, yeah, I just discovered how to stop ads from tracking me on Facebook today. Yeah, it took about 20 minutes. Supposedly go in and tell him to stop tracking you. And yeah, I've heard of that. You can go turn off like the AdSense thing or whatever. Brissinger says, let you know, Albert Einstein adds a lot of strong opinions about the fucking society we live in. Trembling says, people act like scientists are somehow Vulcans that are 100% logical and have no biases. Yeah, I know. Yeah, it's only human bias when it's something they don't agree with. Trumpzilla says, it's too late there. Get a job. Give up your Facebook page. That's probably a good idea. Brissinger says, definition of insanity, expecting different results from the same actions. 100%.
That are going to express themselves. So again, as I was saying, in gender neutral societies, men are going to lean one way, women are going to lean another way. It's not because they were taught that way.
No, they've actually done, isn't it like Sweden that did this about like, and they were talking about male and female nurses. They did a study about that. And even though they had like flattened everything out in terms of equality of opportunity, still they found that women had proclivities in certain directions and men had proclivities in other directions. And they were just like, well, I guess that's just kind of how it is.
Is because that's what their natural innate inclination is.
All right, we're out of time for today, but we'll be continuing this conversation. You won't want to miss our next discussion on this topic when we talk to a group of teenage boys and their mothers about Andrew Tate and toxic masculinity. Their mothers were surprised by what they heard, and trust me, you will be too.
Andrew Tate has a huge impact on what teenagers think now. Like everyone wants to be.
Yeah, it's always a good idea to go ask children about like how they feel about things, because it's so well formed. It's so well formed. We should take this. This is the lion's share of the data that we should consider. We should just listen to the children. Trelmick says, I need to hear this dude's bad music despite him being based on this episode. Yeah, we will. I gotta find it though. I can't. I'm having a hard time finding his band.
Be like him, like rich guy, Bugatti, all that, like rich lifestyle.
He's very positive about how to be successful, go to the gym, get a good mentality.
I'm influenced by Andrew Tate.
I want to thank all of my guests. For more information about today's episode, or if you'd like to share your story, log on to drphil.com. If you want to add.
I gotta say, Rollo had a good showing on this episode. He definitely had a good showing. I was actually kind of surprised he held it together. He did get into a little bit of this idea, this kind of like this, like, oh, well, I have done so much. It's like, you don't even need to get into that. Just talk about the philosophy. Talk about what's going on. All right, so let's look at